What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. It's your host, Brent Bilski, a.k.a. Double B, or the 110 Soldier. Today, I do want to talk WNBA. The life is lonely without Caitlin Clark out there, and she's got an injury. We'll talk about that. I also want to break down, people are asking, what is it about her and the star equation? I'll explain it to you. I'll break it down, why it's her, and kind of what makes a star. NBA Finals, NBA Draft. I got a quick preview, including how the Spurs, Rockets, Thunder, or Knicks could maybe get like a Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is going to be a very interesting year with a lot of picks and a lot of moves going on there. And also the best story out there that I hope happens that probably won't with a one-armed man. However, I want to start off with today just letting you know the show is a risk. Today with the show, I'm taking a big risk because I am basing all of this on the fact that Indiana is going to beat the New York Knicks tonight and move on to the NBA Finals. I am basing everything on a year where I've been able to predict nothing right. There's been things going wrong left and right.
You're psychic. You can predict the future.
Usually this is a much easier league to figure out, but god dang it, it has been harder and harder, and if everything goes right tonight, everything will make sense, but if not, I'm still putting my balls out there on the line for you to see it because I have the Indianapolis Pacers beating the New York Knicks tonight. By the time it's edited and everything else, you'll get to see this, and hopefully I'll be right, and hopefully get to redeem myself a little bit, because I do think that's what's going to happen. However, I do need to start with this. If the Knicks are able to pull off and hold on for one more day, hit the picture here for me, Mateo. If they're able to hold on, we got a series, and it would be interesting. I don't think they'll be able to do much after that, but I do believe if they hold on for one more game and take it back to New York with Stiller and Chalamet and that whole Knicks crowd that has been rabid and ready for the Knicks to be a contender again, their chance to be lucky 14 is actually there when making the 3-1 comeback that has only happened 13 times before them. Again, to remind people, 297 times in the NBA, a team has been down 3-1. Only 13 of them have ever come back to win. I'll give credit to New York for showing some grit and getting that win in Game 5. You know, they're only one of 23 now to extend it even to a Game 6. I do think being at home helped them out, which is also disappointing because you had home court advantage throughout these playoffs. And I will once again repeat, I don't think you have any chance, though, even if you get past the Indiana Pacers, I don't think you have a chance in hell of actually beating the Oklahoma City Thunder.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
No.
Yeah!
I think you get your ass kicked if you actually take on the Thunder. You're too top-heavy. You're worn out already. Your top 7 players play way too much. Your top 5 starters play an average of 38 minutes per game versus a young, deep Oklahoma City team that has an unrelenting defense and just an overall better roster. I think they kick your ass in 4 or 5 if you did make it to the NBA Finals. I mean, if you look at it, you know, the Knicks, their Jalen cat pick and roll is great, but it's all it is. They have a very simplistic, predictable offense that is solely reliant on like 2 damn guys, and there's just too much standing around and just slow. And I mean, a team like an Oklahoma City that's got so many people that can switch and play D and move and come in and out, again, that deep bench, that number 1 defense would absolutely kick your ass. And yes, I know the Knicks say so far that they are healthy. I don't buy that shit at all. I think you guys are lying. I mean, I just saw Cat twice now hold his knee. Jalen Brunson, again, almost playing 40 minutes per game in the playoffs, looks completely worn down. Your whole roster looks worn down. This is just what happens with Tom Thibodeau teams. He just wears out his top 5 to 7, and by the time you get to the end of it, the fact that nobody's on the injury report this year is truly a lot of luck, in my opinion. I also think it's lucky that New York even beat Boston or Cleveland and got past them in the first place. I mean, it was a combination of them choking and also being injured. Let's keep it a buck. That had a lot to do with it. So I agree with even Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, who is a Knicks super fan, says you guys got 0 chance if you are able to beat the Indiana Pacers and go play the Oklahoma City Thunder. You get your ass kicked in 4 or 5. You don't have enough depth. You're too predictable. You're too slow. That offense doesn't have enough options against that number 1 defense. And again, I just think you lose. But there's maybe a chance you hold on. Good luck to you. The Pacers, though, is really where we got to get into the conversation. The Pacers, meanwhile, so to quote the kids nowadays, they're giving Warriors vibes. They're giving young Golden State Warriors, small market, young team, underrated star, exciting style, exciting pace. pun intended. I mean, the Indiana Pacers can really go, dude. These guys are averaging 115 points per game at home this series. This is why, again, I think they close today. Rick Carlisle is definitely the most underrated coach possibly in all of sports right now, definitely in the NBA. That fast-paced style combined with a defense he's able to figure out is just a great combination that is able to take these, again, small markets, Dallas and Indy, and make them way better than they seem. And, man, they are really, truly establishing the pace. They are a number one offense in the playoffs. It's not just a clever pun on the name. They're averaging 116.9 points per game in the playoffs. They're shooting 49.5% from the field. They're shooting 39% from threes. They average almost 28 assists, along with Tyrese Haliburton, who's, of course, the head of the snake there, averaging 9.5 assists per game. And just in general, Haliburton is really giving you that kind of Nash magic of where you look at them, they're playing above their talent. I mean, it's not that they're a bad team, but there's a reason nobody picked the Pacers to make the finals this year. It's because a lot of guys seem to be playing at least at their peak level, if you want to give them some credit. I mean, Siakam's always been good, but he looks like a star in certain games in this series. You got Toppin playing out of his mind. I've always liked Obi Toppin, but there's a reason even the Knicks moved on from him. He had been inconsistent. Guys like Miles Turner and, other players on their bench there. I like Mathurin, and he's starting to show up. But again, they really seem to be playing at their peak level. I thank their star player in Haliburton for that. I thank their coach for that as far as being able to push it out of them. Deep teams win in the playoffs more, in my opinion. Historically, that's been true. They had 7 players over the regular season average 10 points per game. Now they have 6 in the playoffs averaging at least 10 points per game. The other 2 average like 8.7, 8.4. And they lost this last game. It was more to me 3-1 and a little bit of a letdown. The one thing the Pacers have done, and it's just a human nature thing to do, is when you get up, big in a series, that's the only time they've had any losses. I mean, the 3 previous losses before that last one where they were up 3-1, they were up 2-0. So every time they've lost, the 4 losses they've had the entire playoffs, they've either been up 2-0 or 3-1. And it's just, the other team's desperate, and you have other games you can win, or maybe you're thinking, I want to go home and win that way. It's hard to fight human nature. And when you consider, too, they have a history of rebounding after a bad loss. See just Game 4 in this last series. Again, I got the Pacers moving on pretty quickly here, and we'll see if I'm right. I think this is going to be a foregone conclusion, and if not, you guys can hammer me in the comments. I don't give a shit. I still will roll with this. The Pacers, to me, are a deeper, better, overall, just more talented team with the ability to put it out today at Game 6 in the Fieldhouse. I think they get it done. And then we can move on to the next thing I want to talk about, which is this NBA Finals that's coming up. Who's ready? Indianapolis, Oklahoma City. Oh, shit, they're snoring. Oh, no, everyone's asleep. Oh, good God. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad about this. You are not the only ones who are like, Indianapolis and the Thunder. Indianapolis and the Thunder. I mean, you're going to get, and this happens in a lot of different parts in life, the hipster narrative. Don't fall for it. Don't feel bad when you wake up and you look at, I wonder what the NBA Finals is going to be, and you see the Thunder and you see the Pacers, and you're like, what? Don't let the hipsters try to fool you. It's that same bullshit of like, you got to listen to this indie band that I love, or you need to watch this avant-garde 4-hour Oscar-nominated bullshit film. Whatever, man. A lot of people like stars. We like entertainment, and there's just not a lot of it here. I mean, these are some small markets, man. I keep trying to tell you, size matters. It's not just your girl talking. They are the 27th, Oklahoma City, and 24th smallest markets out of 30 NBA teams. I'll repeat that. The 27th smallest and the 24th smallest markets in the entire NBA out of 30. That means they're in the bottom 15%, basically. There's really no big stars that we know, and people are going to just immediately jump me and go, but they got the MVP. SGA's the MVP. Really? He's the number 9 jersey sold. There are 8 people more popular than your MVP, who is the MVP, but as far as the national attention, nobody's really, giving SGA his credit. Nobody puts him on that level. Haliburton, who I love, is not even in the top 20. He is just having a meteoric rise, but man, nobody really knows who he is, and if you haven't been following the playoffs the last few weeks, nobody nobody gives a shit. Silver has got to be a little depressed about this because this is such a ratings nightmare. I mean, this reminds me so much of just a couple years ago, Denver, Miami, 2023, where they set a 16-year finals audience low with only 11.6 million viewer average. That was, again, the worst in 16 years for a finals audience. And the irony of it is that the biggest star is going to be in the crowd. Maybe we should get Caitlyn out there to like fight Garth Brooks. I mean, honestly, in the crowd, you're going to find the biggest star that's going to bring the most attention will be Caitlin Clark. Maybe she can give you like the Taylor Swift effect where people just cut to her 87 times during the game. She's been a huge supporter of the Indiana Pacers. And if you think I'm lying, go look at the numbers, man. Her jersey sales are number 2 in the entire basketball universe. The only person that sells more jerseys than Caitlin Clark is Steph freaking Curry. She sells way more than even the number 9 SGA and the Haliburton, who's not even at the, on the list there. There's nobody actually on the court who's a bigger star than the one that's in the audience. Again, maybe have her fight Garth Brooks and start some shit. That might be able to get some intrigue, but man, for the casuals, they're going to need some intrigue. They're going to need some, hopefully some close games. If this thing gets ugly and one team's able to pull away from the other, this is going to be a very low-rated series, and you got to be worried. Although if you're the NBA, I'll give you credit. Good news, you got what you asked for. In the NBA, and fair enough, they said we are trying to have parity in this league from now on. We want to focus, they've said this specifically, on shrinking the gaps of the best versus the worst teams, and you've gotten that, and now it's led to 2 of the smallest market teams in the entire NBA being your headliners for the final marquee matchup here, and I think it's going to bite you in the ass. Now, TV ratings have been okay so far, but I still, without New York most likely getting there, I would be very, very concerned that this is going to be a big kind of just dud to the end of what was a great playoff run. It should be good basketball and it should be competitive, but man, it's hard. If you don't have the stars and you don't have the intrigue and you don't have the story, I will lecture you till I just put you to bed. But man, it is the thing that you got to have. You got to have stars, you got to have storylines, and the Thunder and the Pacers just don't really move that needle, man. And I know they talk about the global league now too. That might help ratings. Social media up around the world 4 times over worldwide this year, and it's a great basketball matchup. I will repeat that. It is truly a great matchup. Number 1 offense, number 1 defense, Moneyball versus Mayhem. It's a good combination of everything there. And again, the purists and the hipsters, and they're going to try their best, try not to feel too sorry or apologetic for this when they hit you with like, you should just appreciate the purity, man. Just appreciate. You don't need those big names. I mean, if you're a real basketball fan, you're going to love having these stars and these young guys. Have you seen Formula One or this soccer team in Belgium? No, I haven't seen that shit. I like watching stars. Don't feel bad about it. Again, it's like the indie bands. Like, oh, you mean you don't listen to the Infinite Grapes? No, I don't. I went to Beyonce and SoFi. That's what I like to watch. Oh, you didn't want to see this new avant-garde movie, French Meter Maid Counts Matches? No, bitch, I like Marvel movies. Everybody likes stars. Everybody likes entertainment. And I hope at least on the level of play we can get it there, because at least on paper, this is a tough matchup to swallow as far as like getting just regular folks to pay attention. Thunder versus Pacers, I will admit, does not move the needle as far as the eyeballs. Now, intrigue as far as the basketball, I will admit, should be there, because this is important too. We could be arguably seeing the battle for the new face of the NBA, Tyrese Haliburton versus SGA. This is a very interesting conversation because with Steph, LeBron old, Anthony Edwards proven that he's not ready or mature enough, will never really pick the foreign guys like Luka, Jokic, or Wemby. Who is going to be the new face of the NBA if they are able to win their first NBA Finals, Haliburton or SGA? Haliburton is really starting to grow on me. I'll admit it. He's a combination of like Steph, Magic, and if Nash had a baby. His playoff run has been historic. The first player with 30 points, 15 assists, 10 rebounds, and 0 turnovers in a playoff game. That is as efficient as you can be. Haliburton's also clutch. He made 15 out of 17 shots this season to tie or take the lead with 90 seconds left, regular season and playoffs combined. He's an unbelievable playmaker, 9.2 assists, and again is able to do all this without turning over the ball, even better than guys like Nash and even Steph used to do. I mean, his assist to turnover ratio so far in the Eastern Conference Finals is 44-6. That is unheard of. He makes so many people around him better. He is a true rising star. Already made the All-Star team twice by the age of 24. He has quickly lifted Indiana from a lottery team to a finals contender, something they haven't seen in a very, very long time. The style is fun with Haliburton. It's fast-paced. It's flashy. He's unselfish. He's led the highest playoff offensive rating in NBA history. He's able to give you that showmanship. He reminds me a lot of Magic, that big, long, all-motor, great IQ, great passer, able to spread it around, not always worried about taking the shot himself, but somehow still makes people better. He's charismatic off the court. He's likable. WWE, he's going to be featured in their video game. He's on Pat McAfee, helping the Pacers fan who got his ass kicked by the Knicks, giving him free tickets. He's able to be media-friendly. He's playful. He's got a lot of things that you look for when it comes to a new face of your league. On the other side, SGA is Mr. Cool. He's got a different swag about him. Now, some people will say he's a foul MVP, and you only say that because he's not on your team and he's a free throw merchant and everything else. SGA is a bad boy, man. He's the reigning MVP for a reason. 32.7 points per game, 52% shooting. The only player since Michael Jordan to average 30 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block. In the playoffs, he's been phenomenal, especially in the big games. 35 points versus Denver in Game 7. He led the playoffs in win shares. He has carried Oklahoma City so far to their first finals appearance. His two-way dominance is also impressive, even more than Haliburton's. He is top 3 in what we call stocks. When you put steals and blocks together, the Thunder really rides on their defense. They are anchored and led by Mr. SGA. The way he plays, he's a tough cover, man. He's cool. He's crafty. He's consistent. He's a scoring machine. It's not just the free throws. He's able to get to where he wants. You can't rush him. You can't push him. He has averaged now 30 points per game for 3 straight years, shooting over 50%. He is smooth. He is poised. And he's got a global star potential. He's not as likable as Haliburton, but he's got a global potential. With all the fashion statements that he's doing, he's a great teammate. After he won the MVP, he gave all his teammates a Rolex, so it's not like he's a me-first type guy, even though he's a scorer. So the bottom line is here, with Steph LeBron getting old, Anthony Edwards proven that he's not ready or mature enough to handle the situation so far. And again, I know he just won't accept guys like Luka and Jokic and Wemby. We like them, but they can't be the face of the league. Could it be either Haliburton taking the crown this year and moving us forward as the joyful leader, the surgical passer, and the culture changer, or will it be an SGA, cold-blooded MVP, an elite scorer and defender, global superstar, will start a new dynasty in Oklahoma? So it's really going to come down to either the Pacers will create the new Showtime with Haliburton being kind of the new Magic and their 119.6 point per game offensive rating, which is number 1 since the NBA merger, or OKC is going to start their new dynasty with their new MVP and their 68-14 record and their first championship. And the big thing, their 15 first-round picks over the next 5 years. I have to repeat that one again. 15 picks over the next 5 years. They are able to either draft a lot more talent or, even more importantly, make a huge move or trade, and they are already the best team in the league. Record-wise, they might be the defending champions, and they had the defending MVP. They could be the new dynasty. Get used to the fact that it might be the Oklahoma City Thunder dominating at least for the next 3 to 4 years. Do not consider this a fluke. This is something that's for real. We'll see if they're able to pull it off. If they seen who they get in the NBA Finals as their opponent, I again got the Indiana Pacers. And either way, I got to say this to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't care about your future. Y'all better win this year. Thunder better roll. I said this last week, and I'm not screwing around. The Thunder better roll to an NBA title this year because, in my opinion, you've had the easiest road since last year with Boston, where you have, yes, your talent, you're a good team, you beat who's in front of you, but you've had a lot of luck. Let's keep it a buck. You've had an easy road. You beat the hurt Memphis Grizzlies, who were only there after they beat a hurt Dallas Mavericks in the play-in. You have beat the Denver Nuggets, and that's great, but it still took you 7 games to do it. You barely got out of Denver, and that was a team that just 2 weeks prior had fired their coach and their general manager, and they were in complete disarray, and they really weren't the team that we thought they were, and were very dependent on Nikola Jokic and Murray, and that was kind of it. And then you go on to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were really only there because Steph Curry was hurt, and Anthony Edwards, he just admittedly just said, I don't really take it that serious yet. Anthony and his maturity is going to be something to follow in the years coming. But, I mean, Anthony flat-ass said, like, bro, I'm 23. He thinks he's going to make it to the Western Conference Finals like every other season. Like, he's not ready to handle all that yet. So, to repeat, you beat the hurt Memphis Grizzlies only because they beat the hurt Dallas Mavericks. You then beat the Nuggets, but it took you 7 games, and that was after they had fired their coach and GM, so you barely snuck out of there. You beat the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they were only there because Steph Curry got hurt, and they'd be able to beat the Golden State Warriors, and Anthony Edwards and their crew proved that they were not mature or ready enough to actually make a real finals push. And also, which is important to mention why you should win this year, is that the West is not the East. This is the wild, wild West, baby. The West is not the East Conference. They have 4 games this last season that separated 2nd through 8th place in the Western Conference. That is parity, and that is competition, and that is something that is not the Eastern Conference. Eastern Conference is going to be a shit show for a while. With the Celtics having Tatum hurt and Brown having surgery. Sixers, we don't know what's what. Knicks are just going to always be kind of, in my opinion. It is a different road and a different level for that top team to basically say, we can stay here for a long time. The Western Conference is tough. It is competitive. When 2nd through 8th place was separated by only 4 games, you have young teams coming on fast in the Western Conference. That's also a big deal. Young teams like the Spurs now don't have just Wemby. They also have De'Aaron Fox. They have 2 lottery picks this year, including the 2nd pick. The Rockets are on pace to really be able to make a push next season. They look like they're ready. To me, they're just 1 real scorer away. If they're able to land a Giannis or a Kevin Durant or something, they're going to be a real big problem in the future. The Mavericks got the luckiest draw in the world, 1.8%, about to get Cooper Flagg. They'll be coming right back. Then you have the old heads, and the old teams are not really ready to say goodbye just yet. The Lakers are going to have skinny Luka. His fat ass is finally on a diet. People have been posting, which is another conversation for another day. I told you Luka could get skinny, but he looks great. You got the Warriors, in my opinion, who are really 1 big move away, meaning, if they get 1 big or 1 elite scorer on the wing, I think that they are ready to make another push with a healthy Steph and Jimmy Butler. Don't forget about the Clippers. Don't forget about the Nuggets. Don't forget about the Minnesota Timberwolves. If they get some maturity and get some veteran depth, maybe replace a Mike Conley. There are so many teams in the Western Conference that are competitive, and you've had such an easy goddamn road. I'm telling you, Oklahoma City Thunder, don't do the Anthony Edwards and think, man, we'll just be here whenever we want. This is not guaranteed. You've had the easiest road since the Celtics last year. You better roll. You better win a title this season. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, again, I think the Pacers are going to get it done tonight, and we'll get more into the NBA Finals discussion as that goes on. But I still think no matter what happens, Thunder could and should win the entire thing. Back to the draft and the picks, I want to make quick news of note because the NBA draft is coming up. It's right around the corner. It's about 1 month away, June 25th. And there's going to be a lot of things going on this year in the NBA draft that are more exciting than in previous seasons. For one, the Mavs don't just get fixed, as a lot of people have pointed out. They also are going to get a true number 1 draft pick, somebody that he's really brought a lot of excitement in Cooper Flagg. Dallas Mavericks will be fully reloaded, and they've already said, dude, we're not trading shit. They would be out of their mind. After all the fixing and conspiracies and everything that had to give the Dallas Mavericks this goddamn number 1 pick at 1.8%, if they actually traded out of this and traded away Cooper Flagg, even if it was a good idea, there's no way. The Mavericks fan would literally set the American Airlines Center on fire. They can't do it. So that will be its own story that we'll get more into later. The other thing that is going to be big is all the rumored trades and stuff. This is going to be a very big year, and I'll discuss it in a second. A lot of picks are really piling up for some teams here, and I'm going to finish it with a story about my favorite thing that probably won't happen, but it should happen, about a man named Hansel, the one-armed man. I'll return to him in a second. But like I said, this is at least one of the things I want to break down. There's going to be some big moves coming up that we all should be kind of keeping an eye on and preparing for in the NBA draft in a month, because there's a lot of picks that have been stockpiled by some teams who can make some very interesting moves and decisions. The Brooklyn Nets are going to be the head of this snake here. They have 4 first-round picks. The Oklahoma City Thunder, who are most likely about to win the NBA Finals with their reigning MVP, have 2 first-round picks and so many picks in the future, it's ridiculous. 76ers ended up with the 3rd pick, which is very interesting with everything going on in Philly, and the San Antonio Spurs have 2 first-round picks as well, including the number 2 pick. So those are 4 teams I want to keep an eye on. And really, it's crazy that the Brooklyn Nets have what they have, and they're going to be a key in all of this to opening up a lot of different doors and possibilities of stars and people we've heard rumored, KDs and Giannis's of the world, being moved to different places, because the Nets don't just have the 4 first-round picks. They have the 8th pick. They have the 19th pick. They have the 26th, the 27th, and the 36th. So that is 5 seriously nice picks to have in just one goddamn draft. And so, in my opinion, they're going to have to make a move. So just to give you at least a scenario, a conspiracy, I guess, of maybe what could be done with all this. So why am I talking about all this and why is it important? Because there's some moves that I'll give you at least an alternate universe, which I think might happen. I'll start off with, let's say, the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs could not only get Giannis, they could really put themselves in a immediate contention spot if Wemby can come back healthy and everything else. And here's how they can get it done. So just to give you an example, how the Spurs can not only get Giannis, but go for a title. The Nets, who are the key to all this, as I discussed, they seem to want the local kid, Dylan Harper. They want the number 2 pick. They want to move up there and get Dylan Harper at number 2. So in a scenario that I've seen, and it makes a lot of sense, the Nets could trade their 8th pick and their 19th pick and a 2027 first and Cam Johnson to the San Antonio Spurs, who currently sit at number 2. And then the Spurs would get the 8th and the 14th pick still that they already have later in that first round. You take those with a package and go get Giannis Antetokounmpo. So put that all together. The Nets get the number 2 pick that they want. The Spurs still have enough to make a huge trade to go get Giannis. And so instead of having to worry about rookies, with you already having Victor Wembanyama coming back and looking like he's ready to roll, hopefully, with all his blood clot problems, and then De'Aaron Fox, who a lot of people have not still understood how big of a move that was, you add Cam Johnson and Giannis Antetokounmpo to that lineup. That is holy shit. Like, that is a big freaking deal. If the San Antonio Spurs, and this is a very legitimate possibility, make moves something at least in that vein and end up with the starting lineup of De'Aaron Fox, Cam Johnson, Victor Wembanyama, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, that is a phenomenal front four to push yourself into the future, and they would still have a ton of picks behind it to build on them, and so they were able to get some cheap guys and be able to focus on paying those top 4 guys. That is a nice window for the next 3-4 years, and other teams are going to put themselves in the Giannis and KD fray, and I would also, I would put the Thunder right there. If Giannis, who's going to have some say in this, wants to make a move or has an opinion on something, he might say, hey, I'd rather go to the Thunder, kind of like how KD followed the Warriors and tried to chase myself a ring there. There's going to be, I think, the Rockets in the fray as well. I think some of the desperate old teams that I love, the Lakers and Warriors, and these guys are going to try to throw themselves into it. But I guess just keep an eye on the draft. It's a month away. There's a lot of possibilities because there's so many picks being stockpiled by just some interesting teams with some interesting scenarios where you can see a lot of different things play out and the NBA be in a completely different world than it was just right now. Last part on the NBA draft I want to talk about. I want to talk about a man named Hansel. This is such a great story.
Hansel, so hot right now. Hansel.
One-armed man is declaring for the NBA draft. And I heard a quote, this is an old proverb, said, I once saw a man with no shoes and complained until I met a man who had no feet. Point being that perspective is something that is hard to be taught until you see it and then you understand it. And so this is not just a great story. This is not just somebody who is truly inspirational. This is something that we could all get behind, and it's a very slim chance of happening. But God damn it, I hope it happens. I am rooting for this kid named Hansel Emmanuel. So who am I talking about? And I will pop to the video here in just 1 second. So if you didn't like the first quote, let me hit you with this. Arthur Ashe once said, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Named Hansel Emmanuel, who's declaring for the NBA draft. And as you can see here, He has one goddamn arm. The 6'6" guard from the Dominican Republic lost his left arm in a childhood accident at the age of 6. And despite that disability, he has been able to become a viral sensation. In high school, he averaged 26 points per game, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 3.4 blocks. He went on to play college at Northwestern State and Austin Peay, and he's an absolutely inspirational human being. And the numbers, are not great, but he's a one-armed man who is not getting any sympathy that is truly competitive, and I think could actually be at least a prospect in the NBA draft that he just declared for. If you want to give a scouting report, when I see a kid like, Hansel here, he's something between like a Sean Marion and a Jaden McDaniels to me if he only had one arm. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting physically from him. He's explosive, he's a great defender, and I'll get more into it. And I mean, obviously, the higher the competition has gotten, he doesn't dribble as much. But as you can see through the highlights, it's not like he hasn't figured out a lot of clever ways to fool you, even though obviously, he wants to go right. He has the ability to do certain things and moves where he does better than you think. And a lot of people have been very successful in the NBA. The NBA is very much a role player league, I would argue even more than college, where guys don't always need to dribble to be successful. I can give you a lot of examples there. Klay Thompson, definitely did not have to dribble to be successful. Herb Jones, Bruce Bowen, guys like Dennis Rodman, Beasley. There's an ability to find your way in the NBA without being an elite ball handler. And when you're a guy like Hansel, who his strengths include elite athleticism, I mean, at 6'6", 175, this kid can jump out of the gym. He's got great body control. Obviously, he can dunk easily. He can finish in traffic. He's got great defensive instincts as well, disruptive on-ball defender. He's got active hands, great anticipation. He blocks a lot of shots, gets a lot of steals. And his motor and work ethic, they said, is second to none. This kid's like a Westbrook who actually wants to play defense. He competes with urgency. He's known for hustle plays. He puts effort on both ends. Obviously is mentally tough. He's a one-armed man competing at the highest level. He competes with urgency, and he's known for hustle plays and effort on both ends, but he's very tough. He's adversity, his resiliency, and he's very coachable. And I mean, I have to throw in, obviously, this is marketable. I mean, there's a lot you could do with a one-armed man at the end of your bench that, could at least come and be a role player that is way more useful than some guys currently sitting at the end of benches who nobody comes to see. Thanasis, PJ Tuckers, Haslam back in the day when he was 40,000 years old. There's a marketability to having him out there. And obviously there's limitations, one-handed. So, he's going to struggle with ball handling. You're going to be able to double team and pressure him. That's been a problem, especially, versus elite defenders. So limited dribble combos. He's not a great shooter, and that's also problematic. And he's got a limited jumper. He relies very heavily on his athleticism, finishing around the rim and cuts. So role overall, the most he could probably be is a situational energy role player, rebounder, defender, possibly 3-and-D type. And as they're saying so far, unlikely to be drafted, but he could earn at least a summer league invite, maybe an Exhibit 10 contract, and maybe some team will see his developmental upside. But in general, besides just the unbelievable grit and determination that it took to get there, I think he could also be a great inspiration for young and cocky kids, which the NBA is full of, to get a reminder, like a lot of young kids could use, to stop complaining so goddamn much. I'm going to give a quick personal note. When I played JUCO ball, my roommate, R.I.P., and I only give his initials right now, I just want to make sure it's cool, MJR, he passed away from leukemia, and he had leukemia. It was the second time he had it as he played with us. And I'm telling you, when I say this kid never complained, when I say never complained, they'd run us to death. They would do all this types of stuff to us, and we'd be tired and bitching and moaning. He was the only guy on the team who never had a complaint, never had a bad thing to say, was always happy to be there, and he had leukemia, but he had it to where you forgot he had it. Like, that's how little he ever brought it up or used it as an excuse or did anything other than just try to be a great teammate, work hard, and inspire others. I mean, this kid was truly something special, and I miss him every day. And so I could see a Hansel being something very close to that. Even if he's just on your bench, besides the fact that he's marketable, it could be a great perspective teacher to remind people, like, dude, make do with what you got, man. It's not always, something to make an excuse or cry about. This kid has one freaking arm, and he has a legit chance to at least make the Summer League, maybe one day the NBA. So I had to shout him out. I thought it was a very good story. Hansel Emmanuel, I really hope you make it, and if not, who gives a shit? You are still an inspiration to everybody around you. Good shit, Hansel. Good sit.
Hansel, so hot right now. Hansel.
So hot. Speaking of stars and people I enjoy watching, Next picture here for me. It's a lonely island, WNBA. It's a lonely island, isn't it? It's lonely without Caitlin Clark out there. It's lonely without Captain Caitlin, as their money and attention is truly anchored to just this star, as you can see in the picture there, man. Her and the money just floating away. In your CBA year, oh man, we're going to renegotiate our deal and everything else. Let's see how it goes. You've seen now 2 weeks. We're going to find out without old Miss Caitlin Clark, the superstar, to carry you. As you can see, Angel Reese is currently barely surviving on a life raft out there. The WNBA is just absolutely drowning. Caitlin taking her and her money this last couple weeks with this injury, and we have really seen the effect that a lot of people thought was going to happen, but it's been proven, and it's just, once again, this is a true star in a way that is very hard and very generational. I mean, Tiger Woods is really the only current one that makes sense. Babe Ruth, it's a short list of an impact on a sport that somebody like Caitlin Clark has had on the WNBA, and they still seem to struggle with the idea that the rising tide lifts all boats. I'm going to stay with this pun here because just like Tiger, I've learned about other players through Caitlin Clark, and that's something they still haven't really grasped on yet, is that with Tiger, when he showed up into golf, suddenly I knew names of golfers I'd never heard of, never gave a shit about, because I watched Tiger just, all the way in. I was totally focused on him, wearing red on Sunday. Suddenly I found out other names that I knew nothing about and didn't care about until Tiger showed up. Caitlin is bringing the eyeballs, not just for me, but to the rest of the casual audience in a way that has never been done. There's been a lot of stats about how Caitlin Clark has affected viewership and ticket sales. Here's one of the main ones you need to know. 2024, when she first showed up, they had 22 games where they had 1 million views. That is the most ever. Matter of fact, the last time they even sniffed it was 1998 with 15 games. So before this last season and Caitlin showed up, the most they'd ever had viewership-wise was 15 games over 1 million views in a season. They had 22 overall, and Caitlin by herself got 19. I could go into a long list, but that's really all you need to know as far as eyeballs. And again, now, even, I can name a bunch of WNBA players. I mean, I can go down the list of the Fever, Hull, Mitchell, Boston. I could go into, Sabally and Ngumbawale and Asia Wilson. And I mean, I'm just saying, Angel Reese, of course, there's just name after name after name of girls I never heard of until I started watching Caitlin really intently and then learning about the rest of the league. That is the effect. That is the rising tide that lifts all boats that you still don't understand. And so how has life gone without Caitlin, who's only been out for, less than a week so far with this injury? I'm glad you asked. Not good. Not good at all. Ticket prices, of course, dropped immediately. Versus the Mystics, they found out Caitlin wasn't going to be there. It dropped 47%. The Sky Game with Angel, and this is a big example of exactly what I'm talking about. Angel Reese, still there, right? They're going to move this thing over to the big stadium in Chicago because they need to have, all these new, everyone's going to come and watch this game. They're all excited, right? Not without Caitlin. Ticket sales are down 71%. On TickPick, down 121%. Tickets went from $210 when it was Angel versus Caitlin down to $95. Viewership, as far as on television, is just as bad. The Fever game without Caitlin versus the Mystics only got 357,000 viewers. That's already down 39% from the last game Caitlin played versus the Sun. The Indiana Fever themselves have really struggled without Caitlin. They are 0-2. Matter of fact, just last night, lost to the winless Sun. They were 0-5. Now Colson got hurt. Cunningham got hurt as well. In their previous game, their first one without Caitlin versus the Mystics, just to give you an idea of how much they're struggling offensively without their star point guard, they only shot 39% from the field, 24% from threes. They had more turnovers than assists and 0 fast break points. That is how bad they played without Caitlin Clark. And nobody's watching, and nobody wants to buy tickets, and we are back to square one. If you ladies still need to kind of, get a grip on this is a true generational star, and I think they're getting upset that it gets repetitive, but y'all don't seem to understand the level of impact. This is the first time Caitlin has not been able to play since high school, so it's the first time we've really been able to have this kind of litmus test and see, okay, how do y'all do without Caitlin? Not good. Not good at all. Our team doesn't do good. Viewership doesn't do good. Ticket sales don't do good. Attention doesn't do good. Nobody's doing well. This is going to be a lonely island. You guys better get on board with this one. This one, you don't get the pick. It's not how it works. It's just not how it works. I didn't hear golfers bitch about this. I didn't hear about wrestlers, when Hogan was the big star that brought him back in the 80s. You just have to accept what it is, what it is. Caitlyn in the NBA and her not being there is like going to Panera and finding out they have no bread. It's like going to the movies and finding out they have no popcorn. It's like having peanut butter, no jelly, ham, no burger. I don't mean to quote Friday. It's just something that is truly, it's hard to define, but I will define it. I'll explain to you why she is such a star. And stop doing the white thing. Again, I've talked about this before. Sick of this.
Because he is white. Look at him, man.
Absolute horseshit. The WNBA is not the NBA. If y'all are going to say things about this, you need to Google something. The WNBA has and has never been the NBA. They have always had white stars, and they have not had to, wait for every once in a while a Stockton or a Nash or a Bird. The idea that we're only gravitating to Caitlyn is because of her skin color is absolute horseshit. The WNBA is 20% white, and they have had stars going all the way back. I mean, I can give you a long list of truly star players that were white as can be. Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Deladon, Brianna Stewart now, Ionescu, Becky Hammond and Lobo back in the day. Paige Beckers, the new number 1 pick, is not bringing the eyeballs and attention. She's doing okay. She's doing good, but she ain't bringing the attention like Caitlyn did. There is something more to it than just the skin color. So y'all really got to stop with this whole, it's a white girl thing. It's more than that. It's absolutely more than that. So what is it? What makes Caitlyn a generational star? Hit this picture here for me, Mateo. I'll explain this to you in the easiest way I can. I'm calling this the star equation or the star formula. What is it about her, and what is it that makes it so special, and why is she able to have such an impact in the way that she does? And in my opinion, you don't need to be Einstein to figure this out. It is a combination here. Here's the formula basically. It is a combination of having the unique talent, something that we've never seen before. It's also being there in the right time, either technologically or some sort of social movement going on. You have to have a likable personality, and you have to be able to wear that crown. So once again, a unique talent in some way that we've never seen before. It has to be a right time for it. There either has to be some sort of technology or some sort of social movement going on that you become a big part of. You have to have a likable personality and be able to handle wearing the crown. Those are the main ways you can actually become a true generational, once-in-a-lifetime, bring in the attention that we've never seen star. And, I mean, go down the list here as I show you. Babe Ruth, back in his day. Babe Ruth, it was great that he hit more home runs than entire teams and hit the long ball in a way that we've never seen, but it was also the rise of newspapers. It was also the rise of radio that spreaded the legend of the Sultan of Swat that really brought him into another level and made baseball what it was and got it even more attention. He was also very good at actively cultivating his public image. You look at guys like Muhammad Ali, who, yes, had a unique combination of power and speed, and at a heavyweight, we had never seen anyone move like that, but also television had suddenly become more available, and boy, did he use that to his advantage. He learned how to, really charm the media. His great interviews with Howard Cosell, obviously is, talking before and after the fights, and the social activism that he was also a part of really put him into another forefront and made him in those once-in-a-generation type guys. Michael Jordan was not just exciting. It wasn't just that he could fly in a way and float that we really had never seen before. It also was the rise of the sneaker culture. A lot of y'all forget the Air Jordan was something that really pushed Michael Jordan into that next stratosphere of taking basketball and pushing it into another level. I mean, I remember back in those days, people really thought you could run and jump higher if you bought those Air Jordans because he had a certain unique, it was bigger than the game, and it was an entire combination of things together, and was also an image wizard. As much of a jerk as we found out Michael Jordan is behind closed doors, in front of a microphone or a camera, this dude was all smiles and had all the right things to say. Tiger Woods, who's the closest we've seen to Caitlyn, as been a GOAT since birth. I mean, the legend of Tiger started at 2 years old. He was on television, hitting like 80-yard drives and winning putting contests against Bob Hope on TV. And so his global appeal and, of course, skin color and everything else, and that movement and bringing in an entire new culture and audience into golf was something that was, again, truly generational. Caitlin Clark is not just one of the most exciting talents that we've seen so far, and she truly is. Watch the game without her. She's the only one who plays anything close to a Steph Curry in the NBA. I call her Steph in a ponytail for a reason. The logo threes, the passing, the exciting way that she plays is something you really don't see any other player do. But Caitlyn came at a time when there was a push for women's sports recognition that we had really never seen before. This was the last few years. There was really all the poker chips in on, hey, give the women their love and start paying attention. She was clearly the biggest star and was able to put all that together with a nice, down-to-earth, likable personality. She's unbelievably good with kids. And, they line up like Taylor Swift at a concert there. And so, again, it's the combination, unique talent, the right time, likable personality, and most importantly, she's able to wear the crown. This is the part that a lot of the rest of the WNBA doesn't understand. If you can hit this last video here for me, I'll give you a perfect example. Angel Reese. If you want to talk about some people that don't know how to, quote, handle the weight of the crown, it's really important to know what that means when things aren't going your way. And that is something with Angel Reese that is a perfect example of. This is a girl who said, I want to be at the forefront, really seems to want to be the face of the league, who wants to be, one of these people. Come to find out, when, dude, it's being the face of it, you have to do it when times are tough, too. You have to do it when things aren't going your way. And if you look at Angel right now, she's having a tough time, man. It's been a rough start to the season for Angel so far. The Sky are 1-4. She is not shooting well at all. 31.3% from the field is actually tied with Bronny James. There's all sorts of viral videos and memes. There's a new term called me-bounds, which is, Angel missing all the shots and rebounding them herself to pad her stats. So she has had a tough go of it lately. And suddenly, the same girl who loves to be in front of the camera when she's winning is having a hard time answering all these questions right now. She's kind of, she's cranky. She's curt. She's short. She doesn't want to, elaborate. She doesn't want to talk about things. She wants to go home. That is not how being the face of the league works. Heavy is the weight that wears the crown. It is always easy and fun, and everyone wants to look at it and go, oh man, I want to be that person when things are going well. That is not what makes you the face. It's when times are bad, are you able to stay mature? Keep your cool, still be able to be smiles and the right answers in front of the media. That is what the face is able to do. That's what Jordan was able to do. That's what Tiger was able to do. Brady, Steph. It is a hard thing. I understand it completely. If I'm having a shitty day, the last thing I want is 50 idiots in front of me asking me a bunch of dumb questions, but that is what comes with that responsibility. Heavy is the weight that wears the crown. This is the last combination part that I think a lot of people don't pay enough attention to, and why it is so hard, and what makes Caitlyn so special, along with her talent, along with being here at the right time, along with being likable, is her ability to, when things aren't going well, stay at those press conferences, be able to answer your questions, not get snotty, not get curt, not get rude, and handle the responsibility that really nobody likes to do and only a few are able to handle. So I guess in general, that is kind of my point. That is why, you guys really got to be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. And, that is just, I wanted to at least explain. That is my opinion of why Caitlyn is a star in a way, and a generational talent. That is the star formula to put it all together. All right, I'm out of time. I got to go. We'll see if the Pacers get it done, and hopefully I didn't ruin this entire podcast by saying that the Knicks aren't going to be there. And if not, you can tell me I'm an idiot next week. Until then, enjoy your time. I'm out of here. Bye-bye.